Hey guys, it's John with Get Some Custom Baits. We are here at beautiful Starvation Reservoir in kind of northeastern Utah, and we're here fishing for smallmouth bass. They do have some walleye. There's also different trout species like large rainbow trout that, when the fishing is great, it can be amazing for trout. But today we're primarily targeting smallmouth bass, and as you'll see, there are quite a few smallmouth bass that you have to kind of weed through to get to some of the larger ones. So I caught quite a few of these little guys, like we're talking under 6 inches, eating my large 3-inch lipless crankbait throughout the video here. So kind of comes with the territory. You have to weed through some of these smaller ones to get into some of the larger ones, but nonetheless it makes for an exciting trip. You can catch a ton of fish in a variety of sizes, and I hope you enjoy the video. So if you're new to fishing Starvation Reservoir, one of the tips I would give you first is to target the main lake points and the sub points, kind of the first point that you would see off in a bay. But what I found as I was fishing is that I caught a few fish on these main lake points with steeper drop-offs, but as you'll see, the majority of my fish, they really came on these points that really extended out as a long flat. The fish really seemed to be setting up in about 7 to 15 feet of water, and they would just come up from these ambush points on these long flats and just annihilate my lipless crankbaits. So this is kind of a good example of that. You have a long extended flat kind of coming off the front of this point here, and this fish just came out and absolutely crushed my lipless crankbait. And it was not a big fish, just slightly above the 6-inch fish that we had been catching, just very slightly larger. But man, they fight really well. He put up a pretty decent fight for such a small fish. I didn't see much of a size difference by targeting steeper banks like I had hoped. I figured I'd try this point because it was much steeper, maybe a little deeper water. I'd see a little bit larger fish, but as you can see, still pretty small. The lipless crankbait has really become one of my favorite baits, especially in the fall time. I don't know what it is about the fall, but I've had a lot of success fishing lipless crankbaits kind of in that late summer, early fall. These lipless crankbaits have really loud rattles, and I really think that helps draw the fish in, especially from deeper water. I know a lot of these fish were really coming in from deeper than 10 feet of water to chase this bait, and it would really call them up from the depths. Bait, I think, was probably pushing maybe 7 feet at the very deepest, but a lot of these fish would come up and hit it really early in the retrieve when it hadn't had a lot of time to get down deep yet. So I love fishing them. I don't do a whole lot that's unique as far as my retrieve goes. I've tried yo-yoing them, kind of a stop and go retrieve to try to keep it kind of bouncing off the bottom, but I've found the most success just comes from a boring, steady retrieve. Just a slow and steady retrieve from beginning to end seem to produce the most strikes. I do really like bright colors on my lipless crankbaits. As you can see, I had a lot of success today with a fire tiger color, and I also fished my one of my go-tos, the fire tiger stained glass, which is just kind of a fire tiger with a black overlay to it. I'll put some pictures up here at the end, but those bright colors really seem to help. This water wasn't that murky, but the fish really seemed to like those bright colors. And I really like throwing my rattle traps on a fluorocarbon line. I use about 12-pound tests, and I really like fluorocarbon because it sinks well and it's invisible, just allowing the bait just to get a little bit deeper in order to get down to those deeper fish. And I'm throwing it today on a bait caster. I actually don't mind throwing this one on a spinning rod, but it was already tied up on the bait caster, so I just went with it. Caught this smaller fish followed by this nicer, kind of halfway decent fish, just under a pound. And I call this spot the boat wrecker because I almost didn't see it, but fortunately they had that marker buoy on it. Just another example of a long rocky flat where these fish would hold up on, and I caught quite a few fish throughout the day on this spot. I'd come back, leave, and it would just continue to reload with fish. So great little spot here. And as you can see, the size is kind of steadily increasing with these fish. This one's probably 1.5 pounds, just getting a little bit bigger, and man, they put up such a good fight. These 1.5 pound, 2-pound fish were just a blast to catch. Absolutely enjoyed every minute of it. And here's another 1.5 pound type fish, but this one coming off a little bit steeper bank. Just again testing the waters to see if there's a difference in quantity and the size of fish with how steep the bank was. But did catch a few, but definitely not as well as I would catch them on those long rocky flats. And this catch was really cool because as I was reeling in this fish, it had 2 other fish that were chasing it, trying to steal the bait out from inside of its mouth. So I kind of let it swim there for a minute to see if I could get lucky and perhaps catch 2 fish on the same bait. That has happened to me before, but it didn't work out this way. They do say that you should always have a soft plastic available because smallmouth especially are notorious for doing this, where 2 or 3 other fish will chase in the fish and the bait that you're currently retrieving.
still fun. He fought good. Yeah, it's crazy. I thought he was bigger.
And this was a really nice fish. When I hooked into him, he definitely felt bigger than average. I would guess 2 to 3 pounds. Wasn't quite able to get him to the boat, as you can see here,
That was a big
just
one.
to confirm, but
Shoot.
definitely felt like he was a little bigger than average, or at least put up more of a fight. So it's awesome. And not a big fish here, but he fought pretty good. Um, would have fought harder if he wasn't foul hooked the way that he was. Front hook was in the mouth, second hook swung around and caught him almost midway down his body, so it definitely kept him from fighting quite the same way. And here you see a nice walleye on this point as well. This would have been a great size to eat if I had the intention of keeping any fish, but Starvation actually has an overabundance of these smaller fish, both walleye and smallmouth bass, really competing for the food for all the species, so it's making it difficult for them to grow larger. So thought about doing my part to try to harvest a few to keep the numbers down, but I just didn't have a cooler or any means to keep any fish fresh, and I just didn't want anything to go to waste. And another missed fish here. I did have quite a few fish that spit the hook right as they got to the boat. I think maybe I was horsing them in a little, and it was creating that little gap in their mouth for the hook to slide out. But I got right back to it, and on this very same point ended up catching a pretty decent fish, at least for the size I had been catching. Probably one of my bigger fish of the day. So again, I probably cast up into just 3 feet or less of water, retrieved it back to me, and almost every time, once I'd get to about 7 to 10 feet, that's when the fish would hit it. But man, what a great place to take your family, maybe some kids if they want to catch fish. Especially younger kids, the size of the fish isn't going to matter as much. They're just excited to be out on the water, excited to be catching fish. And Lipless crankbait, what a great way for kids to be able to fish. There's not a lot that you can do wrong with it. Just steady retrieve. They love casting. They love the experience. So definitely be taking my family back sometime soon. And I even threw the topwater baits around for a little bit. Did catch a couple of fish on topwater, but really didn't fish it during the prime hours. So that's another great way to catch these fish in shallow water, though, especially in the late summer, early fall, as the fish start to come shallow, chasing bait fish, and trying to stay warm. I think they stay in these rocky areas because the reflection will heat up the water just to half of a degree, and they'll enjoy that. I gotta throw a quick shout out to my Insta360 camera. This camera is amazing, 360 degree around the boat, so it almost feels like I have a cameraman following my every move. So a lot of cool things you can do with it. Hopefully you've caught some of those from the video, but I just love the camera. Couldn't be happier with it. And here's just another really small walleye. These are the types of walleyes that they're really trying to get out of the reservoir, allowing for more forage for the larger fish and less competition. So if I had a means of preserving the meat, I definitely would have taken this one out and hopefully help improve the fishery that way. Man, did you hear that hook set? This one definitely had a little bit more girth. I really thought it was even bigger than it ended up being, but just fishing this long, narrow flat again. It's kind of a bay. This one's not on the end of a point, but I found this spot a couple years back. It seems like every time I go back, I find at least a couple decent fish on this flat. Again, 8 to 12 feet of water. Man, sorry about that wind. I feel like I had to narrate the majority of this video because I had to turn off the audio because the wind was just howling all day. I don't know if that's part of why the fishing was so good, but yeah, the wind just would not give up throughout the day. It was just howling 10 to 15 miles per hour probably.
Decent. Put up a good fight even though he's little. That was
And another decent fish to end the day. I think this might have been the largest fish, with probably him pushing about 2 pounds or so. Again, just fishing that same long, shallow flat towards the end of this bay. So we had a blast. Fished almost primarily and exclusively lipless crankbaits almost the entire time that we were there, and just had a blast. Caught a ton of fish, probably 4 or 5 walleye and at least 30 smallmouth bass. Couldn't capture all of them for the camera, but just quite a few bass. Just really couldn't get into anything that was really, trophy size or anything like that. I know that there's some in there, but hope to go back soon and find those trophy size bass as well. But nonetheless, I had an amazing trip fishing these lipless crankbaits. If you'd like to see them and many more, check them out at my website. All right, and thanks for watching. Hope to see you soon on the water, and please like and subscribe for more content.